world at Creation Week.
Right.
You're seeing the world as it existed at the flood. And that world was one that was filled with violence and was a pretty terrible place to be.
I realized that the billions of creatures buried in those layers are a silent testimony to God's global judgment. I decided I wanted to see one of those layers of fossils for myself. If the dinosaurs had died suddenly in the flood, wouldn't it be obvious?
What we're dealing with here, this is in the Lance Formation. This is a Upper Cretaceous sedimentary deposit. And what we have here is what's called a bone bed. It's an accumulation of bones that's about a meter thick, a little less than a meter. And in this meter, we find the bones present as a graded bed with little bones at the top and bigger bones at the bottom. And you can see here, it looks like Kirlinie is working on another vertebra here. This is a cervical vertebra of a duck-billed dinosaur. This is where the spinal cord goes right there. When I look at these bones in the quarry, I often think of them as being inside the animal alive, and just imagine what it's like to be seeing these bones for the first time. So this is just full of bones, and it's not like we have to go looking for where the bones are. We just have to sit down and start digging.
What is mainly different about the sites that you're digging here as opposed to what we would say a general dinosaur dig somewhere?
Well, there are dinosaurs found all over the world, but this particular site is unique in that it's probably one of the largest collections of bones in the world. And there are the remains of I'd say between 5,000 and 10,000 animals, each 20 to 40 feet long in this deposit. These are big animals, and there are a lot of them.
Let's step back for just a second. Okay, so we had a duck-bill dinosaur roaming around the earth, and all of a sudden it dies. Would it become a fossil?
Fossilization requires very special circumstances. Normally, we know, for example, if a coyote dies out in the desert, its body is soon gone. Yet these bones are all perfectly preserved. They have never been subjected to weather. They are just all there. Today it would be very difficult to imagine how you could do that.
To some extent, we would really say that to find a fossil is rare. Even though we have many, many fossils, in terms of things that die, it's rare if they become fossilized.
It is rare. It requires special circumstances, not the least of which is rapid burial. These animals had to die, and then their carcasses had to have time to rot. So we're talking days or weeks or months, during which time the bones and tissues were either eaten away or rotted away. And then the bones that remained were deposited instantaneously in this environment, because they're in a graded bed with big bones at the bottom and little bones at the top. And you can see that here. The big bones are all down at the bottom. And when they start digging up here, they start to find smaller bones. So that condition requires a sorting process that can only take place during a catastrophic emplacement.
So when we look at the dinosaur fossils, rather than looking at them from the standpoint of we have early dinosaurs, then middle dinosaurs, and later dinosaurs, you're looking at from the perspective that all those dinosaurs were in existence. They were all living, and then there was this huge catastrophe that brought them to an end.
The dinosaurs are already dinosaurs when they first appeared. They look just like anyone would think a dinosaur looked. And this is an enigma for those who believe in the evolution of the dinosaurs.
But we hear a lot about transitional forms. What's the real story there?
Scientists have been able to lay out some forms they think are transitional. And some of them are very interesting, some even challenging. But they are the exceptions to the rule. The rule is there are no transitional fossils. And what we find in the fossil record, and contra to Darwin's hopes, this is the rule, is that a form exists in the fossil record, it basically stays unchanged, and it disappears from the fossil record without having been changed. That's got to mean something besides evolution, because we don't ever see changes from this form into this form in the rocks themselves. So it's coming from somewhere else. It's a paradigm that's being imposed on the data rather than the data providing the paradigm. So I think it's very easy for me to be a creationist just based on my understanding of the complexity of life forms. And when we look at the fossil record, we can see that complexity is all there from the beginning, and this begs the question of where did all this complexity come from? It's one thing to have faith. I have faith that God was the creator, but that's substantiated by what I see around me. To say I have faith that evolution produced this when I can't even see how it could have happened, that's blind faith.
That's a leap in the dark.
That's a leap in the dark.